valley holds its breath beneath a heavy quilt of white. I'm walking where the iron rusted long before the night. The clock upon the gable wall is frozen out of time, when every passing engine made the mountains feel sublime. I trace the frosted lettering along the waiting door, and kick the drifts of powder from the uneven wooden floor. The wind is coming through the pines with nothing left to say, except the quiet secret of a long departed day. I see the ghost of coffee steam above the cafe stove. The copper keys were tapping out the messages we wove. We'd clear the platform when the light was pale and paper thin, to catch the breath of travelers before they'd venture in. A mother clutching parcels tied a soldier home from west, the way the weary shoulders dropped to finally find their rest. It was a crowded theater of arrivals and goodbyes. Now all that's left is solitude beneath a hollow sky. For the tracks may go to silence and the signals lose their glow, and the map forgets the village buried deep in fallen snow. But a place is more than timber, more than hollow beams and rust. It's the kindness we were holding before we turned to dust. We're the keepers of the journey, we're the ones who still remain, to hold the warmth of someone else's love against the rain. I'm older now than anyone who ever manned this post, but I'm not here to mourn the change or entertain a ghost. I'm grateful for the winter and the stillness in the air, for the wisdom in the wrinkles and the gray upon my hair. We move along the mountain pass, we let the seasons turn, and cherish every flicker from the lamps we used to burn. The future is a stranger, but the past is just a friend, who waits within the quiet waiting room until the end. For the tracks may go to silence and the signals lose their glow, and the map forgets the village buried deep in fallen snow. But a place is more than timber, more than hollow beams and rust. We're the keepers of the journey, we're the ones who still remain, to hold the warmth of someone else's love against the rain. So I'll leave the door wide open for the winter to come through. The stories that we gathered here belong to someone new, just a quiet mouth keep falling down. Dry wheat stubble rattles in the morning breath. The horizon pulls a line against the death of the sleeping sun. I see that silhouette. 83 seasons I haven't finished yet. 83 seasons etched into the steel, still holding up the sky, the only truth I feel. The streets are hollow, just ribs without the frame, but the iron heart is standing, calling out a name. I spent my knuckles turning every stubborn valve, trying to keep the rhythm, trying to resolve the pressures hidden deep beneath the dusty clay, keeping life flowing through the heat of the day. I knew the cracks, the leaks, the way the pressure gauge would shiver in the winter, turning every page of a town that needed water just to breathe out there. A town is just a garden where the roots run deep, and someone has to watch it while the others sleep. But longing isn't spoken while the others sleep. It isn't just the spoken, it's the work you do. It's holding up the life for the chosen few. I gave my best years to the tank and the line, and felt the pride of duty in the grand design. I see the ghosts of children in the empty hall of the wind. I'm just a supervisor of the ghost, checking on the valves and the rusted fence post. It's time to let the water rest, the tank is dry. No one left to drink beneath this endless sky. Take one final look, the metal stands its ground. My work is done, I'm the keeper of the sound. Good job, old girl. Creek bed is a skeleton of stones and dried up prayer. 100 mornings watch the fog evaporate from the air. I found the granite footer where my father's kitchen stood, and the skeletons of heirloom roots still reaching through the wood. The morning sun is cutting through the haze on Beacon Hill. Everything has gone away, but the light is here still. We spent the August hours with the sugar on our hands. 1,000 boxes stacked like towers across these dusty lands. I remember neighbors' laughter echoing where the silence stays. Back when the valley was a green and golden summer maze. Those harvest seasons shaped the soul inside a boy and girl, before the heavy hand of change unwound our little world. The structures may have tumbled and the yield has all run dry, but you can't subtract the value of a man beneath this sky. We lived with dignity and grit and gave the land our best, and found a quiet legacy inside the working rest. And found a quiet legacy inside the working rest. The orchards may be withered now, the creek may lack a flow, but the heart of what we planted is the only truth I know. The sun is up, the shadows fell, it's time to turn away. Found my peace in Dry Creek's heart this golden autumn day. Winter wind kicks up the sand on Jumafur tonight. I'm standing where the Marquee used to spill a river of light. The glass is cracked, the iron hinge has long since held its breath. The shadows trace the architecture of a quiet death. I remember every Friday when the lobby overflowed, 100 dusty boots and shoes upon the buckled road. I sat inside the booth and watched the sprockered teeth take hold, spinning silver dreams from cellular iron into gold. Oh, but stories don't get buried when the velvet doors are locked. They're kept within the people, in the marrow and the rock. A place is just the vessel for the spirit we have shared. We leave a part of us in every corner where we care. My hands are gnarled and steady now, but they still know the wheel. The way the mountain silhouettes against the light feel real. I don't lament the closing or the peeling of the paint, for every frame I ever fed was something like a saint. It doesn't fade to nothing, it just waits beneath the floor, echoing the heartbeat of the ones who walked through the door. The twilight's gone to black behind the peaks here on the sill. It's time to take a rest, just memory now, safe in the dark. Cliffside still holds the weight of the dark, but the morning light is carving a path. But the morning light is carving a path, a blanket of white draped over the pine. The high range shivers in a thin, cold line. I push through the gate where the hinges have gone to the skeleton frame that is waiting for dawn. Drip drop, the icicles weep on the glass, while the winter surrenders to the awakening grass. I remember the April we kept out the freeze, when the valley was filled with the promise of trees. They'd come with their buckets and questions in hand, new folks putting down a small stake in this land. I handed a sapling to a girl in a coat, and a pouch full of marrow seed dry in a tote. We talked of the frost and the way the wind blows, and how deep you must burrow before the green shows. You don't know where the roots finally find their way, or how bright they might bloom after you've gone away. I only provided the shelter and sun for the work that the seasons have only begun. It wasn't for me, the fruit on the vine, I was just the keeper of the temporary line. It's a quiet repayment, a harvest unknown in the gardens of others, the seeds that I've sown. My hands have grown knotted like oak in the rain, and I've learned to accept both the harvest and pain. The valley is wide and the air is so thin, but there's peace in the thaw when the cycle begins. I look at the panels, the cracks in the rock, and I smile at the beauty of this forgotten plot. The mountain is rising, the summit is clear. I have done what I could with my time spent here. Sunlight is climbing the ridge to the west, putting the shadows and the snowfall to rest. I'm turning to leave, but I'm leaving it whole. Just a man, just a season, just a temporary soul. The thaw is coming, let it grow. Clouds are low and heavy over Cedar Point today. 40 years of river silt have drifted me away. I used to grease these pilings when the world was wide and new. Now the iron's rusted through and the dock has broken too. The general store is hollow with the glass all kicked inside, where we bought our penny candy and our secrets used to hide. There's an ache in every floorboard and a shadow on the wall, remembering the faces that I haven't seen at all. The ferry's in the deep water and the town is just a ghost, but I'm thankful for the life I lived along this cooling soul. But the love we left in Cedar Point is the peace that makes me whole. I'm a mechanic of the engines that have long since run their race. I see the map of every storm etched upon my father's face. I'm not looking for the mooring or the ship that took my hand. I'm just thankful for the lessons learned while standing on this land. Ferry's in the deep water and the town is just a ghost, but I'm thankful for the wood and stone. The seasons take the soul, but the love we left in Cedar Point is the peace that makes me whole. Just a piece of a life well lived, watching the light go down. Cedar Point, Cedar Point. The salt air is heavy and the fog is thick and gray, a ghost of a village at the breaking of the day. I haven't set foot here since the summer I was 31. Now I'm just a witness to what the salt and tides have done. The marshy grass is reaching for the places where we stood, and the only thing that's standing is that old bell tower's wood. I remember Mama waiting on the dock with open arms, safe and sound in the middle of these coastal island charms. We shared the catch and shared the grief, and lived by the clock of the tides. Nothing's ever hidden here, nowhere left to run or hide. Now the silence is a thunder that I'm trying to understand, as the sea begins its slow retreat from all this marshy land. Oh, the wind might blow the shingle loose and the tide might claim the door, but they can't wash away the names carved deep inside the floor. The bell tower might be empty, but the stories stay like sunlight when the heavy mist is gone. We were built of more than cedar, more than oyster shells and dreams. We were the strength of water flowing through the hidden streams. I'm an old man now and the seasons have been long. I'm the only one who's left to sing our village final song, but the boy who learned to fish out here is still within my skin. And the morning that I see today is the place where I begin. I'm grateful for the time we had, for the life we lived out loud, before the water turned to silver and the sky turned into cloud. Oh, the wind might blow the shingle loose and the tide might claim the door, but the bell tower might be empty, but the stories stay like sunlight when the heavy mist is gone. Let the perfect day begin the place we called our own. The heart of every captain keeps the bell tower from being alone. It's a good morning. Granite's still standing, though the salt air's had its way. Polished every iron rung since the last boat sailed from the bay. Climbing up the hollow spine where the winter wind would moan. Checking on the silver heart in a place I used to own. Inside the glass, the ghost of light is dancing on the floor, watching years go by the same, just like the tide against the shore. I was the hand that held the sun when the sky was turning blue, a silent promise in the dark that I kept for all of you, I kept for all of you. Left some leather-bound secrets on a shelf behind the stairs. Dusty glass and rusted brass and 40 years of prayer. Storms that shook the iron bone and the fog that tried to blind were just the heavy-handed ways of the things we leave behind. Inside the glass, the ghost of light is dancing on the floor, watching years go by the same, just like the tide against the shore. I was the hand that held the sun when the sky was turning blue, a silent promise in the dark that I kept for all of you, I kept for all of you. Gray horizon, gray blue water, watching the years go by, just watching them go by. September light is leaning on the pine, the water's glass, a mirror clean and fine. I pull the gate that hinges on the rust and step across the silvered settled dust. There sits the house of turning painted wood. The roof is tired, holding where it could. The roof is tired, holding gold and could. The maple leaves are Tarsus waiting in the night. I spent my youth with shears and garden twine to carve a place for spirits to align. I recall the way the laughter used to rise. The granddads watched from benches, children's eyes. The granddads watched from benches in the shade, while grandmas traced the patterns we had laid. I kept the walkways cleared and watched the couples waltzing in the light. It isn't in the timber or the beams, it isn't in the remnants of our dreams, Happiness is something you can't store. It walks away right through the open door. It lives inside the souls that passed on through. It keeps on moving, constant, deep and true. A feeling shared is never truly gone. It stays a part of everything that's strong. Hands are worn, the skin is papery thin, like parchment where a long-told tale has been. I've earned the privilege watching seasons turn. The patience that it took for me to learn that nothing stays exactly as it stood. The rod is just the turning of the wood. But oh, the joy that on the shore is worth the peace that settles in the core. It isn't in the timber or the beams. It isn't in the remnants of our dreams. Happiness is sung through the open door. It lives inside the souls that passed on through. It keeps on moving, shared con's never truly gone. It stays a part of everything that's strong. Sunday breeze are all I need to take. The wind is calling, time to head for home. Leave the carousel to let it roam. The air bit sharp this morning, carried a scent of stone. Walked down through the hollow, feeling halfway home. The hills are white with winter's breath, the creek is holding still. I seen the old school tower standing lonely on the hill. My boots crunch on the frosted path, past where the garden grew. A ghost of every summer I and all the valley knew. I reckon even iron hands get tired of holding on, but memories here in Tennessee, they linger after we're gone. I can almost hear the hammer strike, ringing clear and true. The gossip at the water trough, the work we used to do. I see the sparks from the bellows flying, catching in the sun, while just across the schoolyard fence the children's lessons run. That old bell in the belfry talked to guide them on their way. It spoke of hope and having skills, of planting what you'll reap. Now the school is full of shadows and the promises they keep. And oh, the voices may be quiet now, the forge is long grown cold, but every stone within these hills is stories to be told. The love we left in every fence, the lessons in the song. In Hollow Creek the echo lies where ordinary folks belong. The sun is cresting high above the ridge where eagles soar. I'm 72 years old, I don't go looking for more. Just a legacy of honest sweat and kindness shared in turn. From every fire we ever lit, there's always something we learn. The bell is silent in the tower, the iron stays in rest, but the valley holds our history tucked within its frozen breast. The love we left in every fence, the lessons in the song. In Hollow Creek the echo lies where ordinary folks belong. It's a good valley. Rest now. I'll see you in the morning. Plains wind whistles through the broken pane, bringing the sagebrush and the coming rain. I turn the heavy key in the lock's cold heart and watch the long shadows of the evening start. The dust motes dance in a sliver of sun, like the ghost of the dreams of everyone. I walk these corridors of oak and pine, in the place where I left the best years of mine. The thunder rolls like a drum in the distance, define the years and time's heavy resistance. I remember the hands that reach for these books, the farmer's tired sighs and the children's looks. Between these shelves the world was wide and deep, while outside the prairie would wake or would sleep. It wasn't just ink on a yellowed page, it was the quiet strength of every age. Oh, the wind can blow the town away, and the brick and the mortar might someday decay, but the wisdom found in the silent roads is a secret that only the Spirit knows. It lives in the hearts of the seeds that were sown, and the stories they carried when they were gone. I'm an old woman now with a life well spent, in the service of words and the truths that they lend. I close the latch and I leave you in the ghost of the pain, for the stories don't end when the library's shut. They live in the world in the high plains cut. 80 years and 1,000 miles across these red sandstone piles. I'm back where the mesas touch the sky, while the thunder hums a low goodbye. My old heart feels the cool wet air. My old heart feels the cool wet air. A heavy scent of rain is everywhere. Down where the RO cuts the basin, down where the RO cuts the basin. The ghosts of Sunday are what I'm chasing. The road don't stop where the dust begins. No, the road don't stop where the dust begins. It follows the turns of our kin. In the ledger of the desert winds, we found a respite from the lonesome way. A Sunday echo in the light of day. A Sunday echo in the light of day. I still hear the wagon go over shelf and tin. The Navajo hear the talk over shelf and tin. The Navajo nation brought their silver lace. The ranchers traded flour in this hollow place. Handshakes and stories, seeds for the ground. Before the highway stole the only sound. Now the rain falls on the empty porch floor. I can't imagine what they're waiting for. The road don't stop where the dust begins. No, the road don't stop where the dust begins. It follows the turns of our kin. In the ledger of the desert winds, we found a respite from the lonesome way. A Sunday echo in the light of day. A Sunday echo in the light of day. I'm the remnant of a passing age, a passing word on a yellowed page. I walk the wash where the water flows, where the water flows. Let the desert keep what the desert knows. Grateful for the faces, grateful for the land, grateful for every outstretched hand, grateful for the story we planned. Sunday echoes at Red Mesa. Sign's been down a decade, just a post where rust took hold. Behind the faded hardware store where silver stories once were sold. In a language only dirt and water and a broken latch can tell. The ghosts here don't go howling, they just sit and wait their turn. Like the shadows of the houses that we watched our daddies burn. Across the creek at Willow Grove, where the bridge is just a memory, I saw the ghost of every friend I used to know and used to be. And the whistle from the evening train is just a ghost before the dawn. But every time I close my eyes and let the silence take the wheel, I can feel the phantom heartbeat of a town that used to feel. 'Cause the houses are just lumber and the soil is only clay, but the stories that we started are the ones that never gray. The maps can try to scrub behind are the parts we really own. Yeah, the places we left behind are the parts we really own. I chased the lights of bigger dreams where the pavement met the sky. I traded in the willow trees for a fast and polished life. But the man I am was forged in rain and the dust of that old road. I'm grateful for the heavy heart and the wisdom of the gate. And the heritage we carry is a peace that conquers fate. Oh, the houses are just lumber and the soil is only clay, but the stories that we started are the ones that never gray. The maps can try to scrub behind are the parts we really own. Yeah, the places we left behind are the parts we really own. Just a long road home and the light is almost gone, but the places we left behind, they keep on humming on. Lake Superior's breath is crawling up the hill, damp as a shroud, biting and still. 78 years since I first saw this ridge, walking the frost line, crossing that bridge. Copper Hill is just skeletons and shale. Pines whisper secrets on a cold northern gale. I found the porch sagging, the chimney turned gray, where the last boarding house watched the world drift away. The dining hall tables still carry the weight of men who shared stories and silver and plate. Miners from veins deep below the black earth, travelers like me counting what life was worth. We spoke of the timber, the hoist and the vane, in the glow of the hearth, sheltered from rain. Just passing souls in a temporary stay, but the kindness we found hasn't faded today. Oh, we're all just travelers on a one-way run, chasing the light of a long-setting sun, a handshake, a meal, a room for the night, guided by embers and morning starlight. The places we leave are just marrow and bone, but the heart of a home is never alone. Fog's in the parlor, the evening is deep, just temporary friends falling to sleep. Thank you for the passage. Thunder rolled off toward the Kansas line, leaving the river swollen and the Sill redefined. I'm walking the path where the tall grasses bow beneath the silver-leaved giants that are left for me now. The roof line is buckled, surrendered to moss, a skeleton frame that has tallied the loss. But I remember the heat of a June evening gale, when the lanterns were lit, of a June evening fail, when the lanterns were lit and the laughter didn't fail. I spent 40 years shaving down the heart of the pine, creating a voice for the wood to define. I handed them over to the hands that would sway through the midnight hours till the coming of day. It wasn't just cedar or varnish or blue, it was breathing life into what they were going through. The promises whispered near the riverbank's bend, where the current moves slow and the shadows extend. Happiness caught in the grain of the floor still lingers in spaces behind the locked door. It didn't just vanish when the crowds went away, it's held in the marrow of the ones who would stay. A feeling like that isn't tethered to stone, it wanders the prairie, it's never alone. Passed down in the bloodline, a secret kept tight, like a spark from a firefly catching the night. I run my thumb over the joinery seams, where I shape the curves for 100 men's dreams. And I hear the ghost of a warmth in the air, a phantom vibration that is still lingering there. We poured out our living in the dirt and the wheat, we carved out a purpose that felt so complete. And though the river has reclaimed the ground, the weight of the joy is the one thing that's found. Lavender fading to a deep, heavy blue. The water is singing a prayer that is true. I'm leaving the cottonwoods to keep what they hold, a story of summer that never grew cold. Gratitude travels the current downstream, carrying fragments of a long-faded dream. And I walk to the edge where the twilight is vast, thankful for every life that is past. Laurel soaking heavy with the breath of mountain rain, I'm tracing back the footsteps of a life that felt like grain. ground down and woven tight beneath the ridge's iron spine. I found the gate is rusted, but the brick is doing fine. The creek is rushing faster than the winters I recall, and moss is knitting blankets on the factory wall. I hear the phantom rhythm of the spindles in the gloom. 500 souls are marching to the humming of the loom. We shared our bread and sorrows in the shadow of the stack, a brotherhood of callouses, there wasn't looking back. The company houses huddle like a choir in the cold, still holding on to secrets that the timber never told. But the mill was just a cradle for the fire in our chest. We didn't know we was weaving a story, we was doing our best. The brick will tumble down, let the ivy claim the wall, but the kinfolk and the kindness don't ever really fall. We're the thread that holds the valley, we're the pattern in the dark. Every life that toiled in Willow Creek has left a lasting mark. I'm an old man now, my fingers gnarled like winter oak. I've seen the heavy industry turn into wisp of smoke. We wasn't rich in silver, but we gathered up our worth in the dignity of working on this steep and stony earth. The fog is lifting slowly from the top of Roan's high peak. I'm leaving all my history to the waters of the creek. Yeah, the mill was just a cradle for the fire in our chest. We didn't know we was weaving a story, we was doing our best. The brick will tumble down, let the ivy claim the wall, but the kinfolk and the kindness don't ever really fall. Every life that toiled in Willow Creek has left a lasting mark, just leaves upon the water, carrying it downstream. Hums melody. Dust is thick on the brass key's rim. The oil in the lantern's long gone dim. Red mesas sleeping beneath the moon. I came back a lifetime or a minute too soon. Old man Willow's leaning on the porch tonight, same as he did back in the morning light. Pickups and ponies, boots on the pine, trading for wool and the grape-scented wine. Maria would laugh in the midday heat, selling those blankets to every heart she'd meet. We were all just threads in a Navajo rug, passing the whiskey from a Stone Rex jug. It wasn't the building or the cedar beams, it was the way we carried each other's dreams. A name in a book, a debt on a slate, we were just people helping carry the weight. Red clay is cooling as the lightning strikes far. I remember exactly who you really are. The highway took the rest, left this hollow shell, but the stories we told are the ones I still tell. Just a trading post sign in the summer rain, a little bit of peace for a lifetime of pain. Goodbye, old willow, goodbye, red mesa, gone. The air up here is thin, and taste of pine and coming snow. The ridges have a way of whispering things that valleys never know. I'm climbing back the zigzag trail where timber turns to gray, to visit where the lightning danced for 30 years a day. The glass is cold against my palm, the iron's turned to rust, but every board still holds the shape of all my quiet trust. I track the columns climbing high when summer scorched the range, and watch the aspen leaves prepare for every subtle change. I talk into the mouthpiece just to hear a human sound, while storms rolled in like giants moving heavy on the ground. I spent my life in Sturvitched, a watcher on the height, trading all the city noise for the wisdom of the night. But the care you pour into the rock is never time. It lingers in the mountain peaks and echoes through the climb. The tower stands in solitude, the road has overgrown, but I've never felt the distance in a world I made my own. A life of quiet service is a fire, it never dies, reflected in the gold of all these wide Montana skies. I'm leaving now the upper room, the map is folded small. I've seen enough of seasons to appreciate the fall. I don't need to be remembered by the people passing by, just to know I kept the vigil underneath the open eye. The larch are glowing amber now, the ridge is soft and still. I finished up the watch I kept upon this lonely hill. Yeah, the care you pour into the rock is never lost to time. It lingers in the mountain peaks and echoes through the climb. The tower stands in solitude, the road has overgrown, but I've never felt the distance in a world I made my own. A life of quiet service is a fire, it never dies, reflected in the gold of all these wide. The snow is falling on the peaks, it's time to go back down. My watch is over, peacefully. Salt mist clings like an old ghost sleeve where the marsh grass sighs and the black tides leave. I stepped off the bank where the wood plank's gone, first light breaking on a summer dawn. The sea oats whisper what the waves forgot in the hollow space of the sacred plot. Old man Miller shed is tilted low where we mended the nets in the amber glow. The oyster house is a skeleton frame, but the salt wind still carries every name. I hear the laughter by the kitchen fire, echoing back from the marsh mud mire. The tower still stands while the town goes down, above the bones of this coastal crown. What we gave to the tides, they keep in the deep. I promise the bell tower promises to keep. We were built on the sand, but our spirits held by the truth that the morning bell once yelled, by the truth that the morning bell once yelled. I'm 71 and the years are a tide, carrying everything I carried inside. The fog is lifting, the sun's breaking through, showing me a world that's eternally new. There's a quiet peace in the way things end, like an old dock giving way to trusted friend, giving way to a trusted friend, giving way to a trusted friend. Yeah, the tower still stands while the town goes down, above the bones of this coastal crown. I promise the bell tower promises to keep. We were built on the sand, but our spirits held by the truth that the morning bell once yelled, by the truth that the morning once yelled. Just a shadow in the marsh grass now. Peace be with you.
Western Kansas light is long, it stretches out to meet the bend, where puddles mirror back the sky and all the gravel roads end. I've driven past the rusted bins, the grain is gone to seed, just stalks of spring-fed green pushing through the tangled weed. The schoolhouse stands in weathered pine, the paint is peeling gray, but I can hear the phantom bell ring out the time of day. I see the rows of wooden desks, the smudged and dusty chalk. I hear the echoes of the small feet running down the walk. We gathered here for harvest nights, for every harvest bowl, before the dry years took the crops and left a lonely toll. The church is standing silent now beneath the steeple steep, just secrets in the pews for all the shadows left to keep. But the life we planted here didn't vanish with the grain. It's moving through the cities now like moisture in the rain. Oh, the roots were reaching deeper than the soil could ever show. Every lesson that we whispered helps a distant garden grow. Every lesson that we whispered helps a distant garden grow. A town is just a vessel for the stories that we start. It never really fades away if it's living in a heart. Think of them in uniforms or dressed in city suits. They pull the branches wide and far, but they still recall the roots. I spent a lifetime watching kind and leaving pieces of myself in everything I find. The meadowlarks are calling from the wire on the post, reminding me that grace is found in distant ever show. Every lesson that we whispered helps a distant garden grow. For the life we planted here, for the stories that we start, it never really fades away if it's living in a heart. I'm holding all the quiet years here in my open hand, just the wind and the grass and the lesson, it goes on.
"70 years since I first smelled the cedar in the air. before the lake was wider and the dock was standing there. I came back through the timber while the clouds were turning gray, to see the ghost of neighbors that the years have swept away. The general store is empty with the windows painted black. The rusted boat equipment lies like history on its back. I hear the children splashing in a shore that's now a wall. I can almost hear the voices, I can almost hear the voices drifting through the afternoon call. We're just travelers passing through the places that we knew, but the heart don't ever wander from the love that carried us through. It's a different kind of riches just to know that we were there, breathing in the heavy scent of the cold shoreline air. The clouds are breaking open and the light is turning gold. I'm letting go of every story that I ever tried to hold. There's a peace in every shadow and a grace in every leaf. Gratitude is heavier than any kind of grief. We're just travelers passing through the places that we knew, but the heart don't ever wander from the love that carried us through. It's a different kind of riches of the cold shoreline air. The ferry's gone, the tide is low, but I've got everywhere to